Welcome back to the show. It's Father of the Years, the title of this episode. I got to make sure I remember that when I put it up there. But Brandon, welcome back. I think I've given you so many shout outs recently about your Disney conspiracy, and it seems to hold thin. But did you take it from somebody else?
I don't think so because I was into conspiracies like heavy, and I was Disney's Frozen Head was like kind of what started the whole. I like what's your friend say? What's your friend's name? Keith
Kelly?
Kelly. He was saying it was Newspeak, and I was like, goosebumps! It's totally Newspeak.
Well,
Just
you hinted on to something bigger that I think the world is actually having a confrontation with. So before I even dive into that, man, how's being a dad? How's that going?
it's been great. We're 4 months in. He just has 4 month birth anniversary. And we went on vacation with him. He got to see the beach. He got to dip his toes in the water. He didn't have the best time, but we found out it was because his bathing suit trunks the netting was too small. So anytime we would go take him to the water, he was starting to fuss. But on the last day, we figured it out. He was in the pool. I'll have to send you a picture.
Yeah.
He's real cute. But we were getting to have a lot of fun together.
Is it getting easier now? Are you starting to find the groove, I would say, rather than the first day?
Oh, yeah. Wife said the main thing to do is start a routine and keep him to it. And when we break the routine is when things start to get a little crazy and he starts to fuss more. But there's like a checklist. Is he wet? Is he hot? Is he hungry? What time is it? He's not hungry. Did I just change him? All right, he might be hot or he needs to burp. So it's kind of short list to go through.
A little bit different than having a goldfish.
Yeah. Even goldfish, people don't change the water or feed them on time. Goldfish don't make it very often.
Do you think that it's changed you personally as like you've kind of grown since, even if it's just been 4 months, do you think you've changed anything or maybe changed any part of your daily routine besides taking care of them? More of an aspect of like personal accomplishments or goals now?
I spend less money.
That's good.
I have all of this, all my things. I usually I'm like, oh, I can buy something. I spend $20 here, $40, $30, doesn't matter. But since he's been here, I haven't been spending anything. Been at home mostly. Well, we spend a lot on food.
Yeah.
Because our schedule is pretty taken up.
Well, you don't have to buy food for yourself now. You buy baby food and then you eat that food as well too.
It's not the worst idea. We literally just yesterday got cleared for solid food, which is like, well, not solid, like not formula. So we can mash up some peas or some strawberries or something, feed them with a spoon.
Are you the type of parent that's like, I want to start feeding my kid like Wagyu or steak or something like that? I always wondered, like, I don't trust the food that, like, if you're serving that at your restaurant, it's best to have someone who knows CPR because that's like the only food that you can really choke on.
Yeah. Brother-in-law said he just had Wagyu over the weekend, like $100 steak. And then they cooked one, didn't do it that well. And then they cooked the second one and it was better. But I was like, man, it's a weird meat, weird animal because it doesn't move. That's the whole point of it. Like the steak that
It's a
doesn't get off the
weird
ground.
process. It's a cow that basically gets like treated like a god till the day it's supposed to die. And apparently that makes the meat taste better instead of it being like spoiled.
Yeah, he never has to move. So I think that's part of it. Like never had to gain any muscle. I'm just growth got me this big.
So the world's not ending if we have $100 steaks or things like that, right? It can't be.
Of course it is. It's for the people who can afford it. And if
I
we
was, well, I was, so the main thing that I wanted to bring up to your attention was I was listening to a podcast episode with an ex-CIA agent. And he's doing a alien type series for sci-fi. And he talks about a lot of these mistakes of these lights in the skies that people are seeing are actually probably some advanced tech that the government has. And this is probably why they're releasing the UFO type stuff. But I don't know if you remember, but one of our first episodes, you mentioned about a guy who can park his car, and when he gets out of the car, his headlights detach and fly around him to light up his pathway as he's going up into his house. And you talked about it all being controlled from your watch. This is something that that you mentioned, and I heard it on this episode. The guy was talking about how wars are not going to be fought with people anymore. They're going to start being fought with AI. And so eventually these AI robots can start winning, or maybe over everyone would have their own different type of AI, but they're these drones, these little, like, have like 1,000 of them or something, but they fly in the air like a swarm of bees, and they are able to circle around. And this is tech that he's talked about that the government does have. And this is what people might mistake as these little balls of light in the sky that fly around thinking it's aliens. It actually just might be some propulsion or some type of government textile things. And I've been getting into the UAP and the UFO rabbit hole with some people who've experienced it and really talked about it. It's it's interesting because I'm starting to look at, like, how long, if you create AI systems, for instance, this conversation is now a reality that me and you are creating. We're technically both God in this situation. At any moment, you could throw out something that could totally derail or totally throw the conversation to a different direction. So technically, what me and you are creating is now a reality. We're creating a different type of reality that me and you are in. And this episode, anybody listening to, is going to enjoy. Now, if you create a robot, that robot's only going to know your reality of where you're from. So the Americans will have their own reality sized robot or reality based robot, and China's going to have an own reality based robot. Yes, the good part is war is not going to be fought with people. But how long until these robots are killing each other until they start to develop that we're actually lower than them and they decide to turn into these, I think Alex Jones puts it, predatory anti human?
Not long. We've seen the movies. They're telling us right to our face. I love going back to movies. And your buddy was saying the only difference between science and science fiction is the fiction. I think fiction should just mean like not, we haven't made it yet, or like it hasn't happened yet. Because he said everything is predictive programming. Is all I say all day, every day.
Well, is it conditioning?
iRobot.
Is it conditioning though, or is it those movies are now inspiring the ideas for people to create these types of things?
They made that reality that we're living in because we all seen it, just like you said.
Because I just picture some Tesla or some Elon Musk type character sitting on a couch and watching iRobot and be like, I could create something like that. Yes, I could create something like that.
Uh, I can't remember the saying, but of course, everything everything we see comes from our imagination, and the only thing that limits us is the thing that somebody invented right before me to get to here. Like, the chip is better this time, so I get to make this one. This one wasn't made, so I can't get here yet. Like the iRobots, remember all the cheap ones and and then the smart one.
Well, there was just like a great a couple of years ago, or maybe a year or so ago, where there wasn't this worry of AI. It seemed like it was unthinkable. If anything, it would be 50 years into the future. But now it's a possibility that is literally at our doorstep. And I'm like, look, if you're advancing something so quickly, this is where we have issues with people who, haven't gotten the vaccine, is that it was rushed to be created. You're rushing AI, and AI right now isn't even perfect. There's the governor of Texas that's trying to ban the censorship bill or do something where he's trying to stop conservative speech from being spoken. All these YouTube and Facebook, for instance, YouTube flagging our video just because of things that we say. The censorship issue with AI, for instance, is just pulling out an algorithm. These algorithms are not perfected, and now we're how long until this is eventually going to be the main system that we all run by? We use an algorithm as our police in a way. Instead of calling the cops when, you're threatened, or if someone says they're going to do, they're going to tear up your lawn or something like that. The algorithm just predicts that that's going to happen and then stops you from doing so. Kind of like that Tom Cruise movie, except you're not getting locked in an ice box. You now have a sensor bar inside of your home that's able to hear every single thing that you say and be able to, intervene if something gets out of place or put you on a watch list. The main thing is the social credit system. I talked about this like episode 100 or 200 or something like this. A buddy had brought this to my attention talking about China's social credit system, where if you snitch on your neighbor, you eventually get like a better tax thing, or you get like maybe a higher rating so you can get a better home, or maybe you get a benefit from the government if you snitch on your neighbor that they jaywalk or doing something like that. Did that not happen with people throwing parties during the pandemic? How long until next thing you know, there's Mike Baker's his name is the CIA agent guy. He was talking about eventually maybe leading to a point where if the government can check your search history without like doing the cookies or anything, but actually see your computer and scan and monitor your search history, that you might get a higher credit rating, or you might get something like this. We all know people that are more than willing to do that. There's a large train of thought where me and you get labeled as conspiracy people for talking about these types of things that eventually come true. But there's a lot of people accepting things at face value, either because they don't want to know, they don't care to know, there's bigger issues on their head, or they trust their government and thinks that their government is never, and the government's not the issue. It's just people that are rushing things without looking at every single step throughout every single generation or whatever period of growth. There has always been cutting corners. Why do you think at this moment in time that they wouldn't cut corners now? It's about getting a product made. They want it done as fast as possible. If you're the first one on the market, now you have an opportunity to capture the market. If you're the first one on another planet, you now have the ability to run that planet or be the main guy in charge on that.
Man, you say so much that
I'm losing my shit.
well, it was like, all right, I had something for way back here, and then now we're over here.
Get
I'm
a
like,
pen and paper and write down
all right,
everything
Robbie said, all right, so way back over here, we're talking about AI, and I was gonna be like, Age of Ultron, getting you ready for the AI is gonna snap on us. I think the whole Marvel universe might be hinting at the whole thing since they're to Disney. And what cybernetic arm, we got Bucky, we got I bet there is kinetic armor that absorbs bullets, like dude was saying. They got this the civilian way of protecting themselves from the government is just bullets, and they got space lasers and stuff. He talked about the drone swarm, and I was like, he's talking about drone swarm. What if they had little lasers on it, and I can't even hit it? And then all the way over here, you were talking about getting to the next planet. And Alex Jones was saying, man, we're gonna get to the point where they just hear the algorithm picks up his name and drops it. So he was telling somebody that Warner von Braun wrote a book about the King of Mars, and the race of people was called Elon's. And then Elon's dad named him Elon, and now he wants to be the King of Mars. And of course, he gets to create whatever society, whoever gets there gets to create whatever society they see fit. And let only this many people in if you can afford it. Elite, upper crust, New Zealand, underground bunkers, all that.
Well, for instance, like the push for electric cars. Now, I know that like apparently it takes more carbon.
In the 1930s.
Well, apparently it takes more carbon to make the transmission lines, and carbon's good. I guess, is it carbon that's good for the environment? Apparently makes plants grow even more or bigger, or it does something with our environment. It's bad for human life. Like it's terrible for us.
Newspeak, they're changing the meaning of carbon.
Well, what
we all
carbon?
We all learned as children that the plants, we exhale the carbon dioxide, but they're trying to mix carbon monoxide with dioxide by just shortening it and saying carbon is bad. And you're right, we're bad. It's all about separating the people with the money and the technocracy and the future cybernetic arms and the District 9 people down here.
Well, do you think that it's people that are profiting off of this that's making our lives hell, or do you think it's other foreign influences? For instance, if you shorten carbon, you make all carbon bad. Back, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, there was a big push to just rule out anybody who drives a muscle car. Muscle cars are bad. Trucks are bad. They're bad for the environment. Now it's gotten to this level of thinking where we're all like, well, people are bad for the environment. And it's kind of shifted to where now we're looking at everybody as the enemy. Human life is now the enemy. And it's like, I saw a video. It was a guy who was ex KGB, a Russian spy, and it was about 28 years ago, and he was talking about like these slowly grasps from other countries of using manipulative warfare, which is just by sparking up controversy among people and having people fight against themselves to where they don't believe in their country anymore. This was 28 years ago. And he goes, how long do you think this is going to take? And he goes, well, the process is a long one. It takes about 20 years. Is that not what's happening today? I mean, that's a 28-year-old video you can look up on YouTube. I mean, I can try and look it up right now, but it's kind of scary in a way.
See that Rogan video talking about how America's based on freedom, and if you give somebody power and they're not going to give it up, they're dang, I lost my train because I was thinking about the Rogan video. What did you say?
I'm gonna try and play this video, but it's a former KGB agent.
Oh yeah. So the only reason people don't stand up against this is because they don't know what's happening. If they were to see a paper saying dude said it takes 20 years to destroy the country, and I keep saying from its conception, America, that's what I was getting to. Rogan was saying the American experience. So since its conception, America's the shining light on the hill, the only one that stands out without a dictator yet. Well, at the time, with the people running it, voting for it, everybody on the outside has always wanted to usurp the land, and there's always tyranny in a person who wants to take what is and to run it somehow. And I say this too. All it takes is for the keys to change, for the intent of the building to whoever's the manager. I just hand over the keys, like, or the president hand the keys to the White House. You just hand the keys over, and the intent of whoever's running that company changes.
I'm gonna play this real quick, but I don't know the exact moment. It's a couple minute video, but hopefully I'm at the right spot for it.
I just don't fully understand. When the Soviets used the phrase ideological subversion, what do they mean by it?
Ideological subversion is the slow process, which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in four basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism.
So stage 1, demoralization. I'm going to stop it there so we could talk about that. Is that not what's happening now, where we see people that are what they would call, I guess, what is the term? I just forgot. It starts with a D. There's people that are like, especially in our college. Did that video play? I couldn't tell if my mic was picking
No,
up.
it was perfect.
Okay. There's people that are brainwashed in a way. So many kids that are indoctrinated. That's the word, indoctrinated. They literally hate their own country because they learn the real history about it. But it's so much so that they're willing to condemn people now for it, where you see people that are fighting other people in the street, just punching them in the face, all because they might have some type of what they would classify as white privilege, what they might classify as you're Republican or a Democrat. Certain basic things like this. This seems like we're in stage 1 coming into stage 2. I don't know what stage 2 is yet. I'll play that in a bit, but I'm just saying, this indoctrination of hating your own country and making it seem evil seems like the best military tactic. And for a lot of people, they don't know that Operation Paperclip, Russia got a lot of scientists that involved in psychological warfare. They were practicing remote viewing and things of that sort long before we were, but they ended up giving up on it, where eventually we started experimenting with psychological warriors, which led into the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats. And actually that happened at a school near where I live. But they had this shack of goats, and they would try and train these Jedis in a way that could be able to stop a goat's heart by just using their mind. You're not supposed to do it for that. It was supposed to be used with love and peace and all these types of things to be able to stop a war rather than using weapons, but using a flowers or some type of peace thing by brainwashing or convincing your victims or convincing your enemies that they're not your enemies. They're actually, we're all part of one equal thing. So instead of using perfect harmony, or instead of using war, find perfect harmony. That worked for a little bit. There was some tests on it. There was a school that was running it. There was a whole entire program that was involved into it. George Clooney's in the movie, but they eventually stopped doing it because they realized it was kind of insane. I mean, it got to the point where people were taking LSD and drugs. A person actually pulled out a gun and started shooting at the campus, ended up killing himself. Just because LSD is such a powerful mind-bending drug, it literally tears apart your reality and kind of constructs it back together. Hopefully everything gets put into place in the proper position, but never really does. But it seems like what's happening now is, like, when we talk about Russian troll farms or other types of online bots or all these types of things, why is it that when a scientist or so-called scientist on Twitter with a check mark comes out and says that it's not the lab, it's not any of this thing, and then it turns out they start looking into it, next thing you know, that person with the check mark is now gone. They have no more Twitter. They deleted their Twitter or something like that happens. Now you've given some seeds of doubt for a lot of people to start fighting amongst each other again. There's so many different accounts on there with a verified check mark, and this check mark is probably one of the most dangerous things this society is coming across right now, besides actual war, because it's sparking up animosity with people that necessarily might not be fighting with each other. Everyone wants to fight for that authentication or that verified. That being verified is so much for a lot of people. It's like a sign of validation. It's a sign of success. It's a sign of that's going to lead you into a whole propelled future of amazing opportunities and people loving you and having this idea of fame. This is a big issue with what's going on with the world right now, because I think we're missing some major key steps, which is that a lot of this system is being fucked with, not only from other people from our country, but we're pointing blame at people in our own country who are just taking advantage of the situation that we're in and not looking at these basic features. I don't think China's, I mean, they might be trying to come for us at one point, but why is it when someone says like during the pandemic, all of our masks were being made in a whole nother spot. So they were like, we're not going to make you fucking mask anymore. And it's like, well, we need to start making our own masks then. Why is it all our cars, all our tech, our robots are not going to be able to come from China because that's a way of invasion. Our guns are all made here. That means our robots are going to have to be made here. But how long until eventually we lose grasp of the main problem that's coming at us? And it's the fact that we can't get over fighting each other. And I don't know what that influence is. Is that influence from another country? Is this just a slow game tactic that now every generation, at least my generation, probably close to your generation, lost the sense of American values and actually sees American values as bad? Is being in a loving family or having a home full with a mom, a dad, it could be two guys, it could be two girls, it doesn't fucking matter. That nuclear family idea, it's just about coming from a good foundation, no matter if they're gay, straight, whatever. It's about having a good basis. That's the idea of it. It doesn't need to necessarily be a guy and a girl. It could be a girl and a girl and a guy and a guy. But I saw you writing this. But there's a lot of hate right now. And I think the hate's being pushed to the people. We all want a straw man. And sadly, that straw man is whoever's going to be president, whether it's Trump or whether it's Biden. But I don't necessarily think it's their fault. I think they're trying to make their own plan work in the country. Like in North Korea, you don't see people that speak out against Kim Jong-un or whoever, because they'll probably be killed. But the whole aspect of like, it's also a factor of they know how their country is. So there's no point in complaining about it. They're not fighting each other, though. That's the one thing from every defector I've ever heard, is that they don't fight each other over there in the other countries. It's more of a issue, and it might be oppression, But at the same time, they're not fighting the people that are also oppressed. If we're all feeling oppressed right now, why are we fighting each other over it? Shouldn't we be finding ways to liberate ourselves? And if that does mean liberating ourselves, does that mean tearing down our own country? Or shouldn't we be worried about outside influences? And the fact that it's so goddamn easy to fuck with our heads. Why is it that easy? Psychological warfare. This is still stage 1. I would hate to see stage 2.
Black Mirror.
The cell phone. What is that? A mirror or a cell phone?
It's a Black Mirror.
The hell did you get a black mirror from?
It's your phone. That's
Oh.
what Black Mirror means.
Oh. I was like, where the hell do they sell black mirrors? That's fucking crazy.
No, that's the idea of the show Black Mirror. That's the name of the show. It's a fucking phone.
I don't know if it's just the fact where people want to deflect from themselves to point on other people, but this was not like this when I was a kid. I've talked to so many people now. I go, I wish it was like 10 years ago before the internet. And I was like, yeah, I think the internet is somehow got us addicted, but also showing us so much that's causing us to fight with other people out of no apparent reason.
MK Ultra on the largest scale ever.
But it's not our MK Ultra though. It's not us testing on
Waking
us.
reality is MK Ultra.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
The realest reality is giant robots and space guns. That's the biggest reality that nobody's living. We all know it's real.
We're never
But-
going to get there. We're all
we are there.
schizophrenics.
No, we're there. There's the elite who know and got the space lasers, and then there's us who like go to work and keep the taxes flowing so they can make space lasers. So back to the colleges. There's a book called Rules for Radicals. I only heard of it because of Hotep Jesus. And one of the rules is you have teachers, in quotes, of an ideology. What you'll do is you'll shut it down. I wish I could remember the actual rules for the radicals, but so the person will know they're telling this group, oh, shut down the conversation by saying, hey, that is based in white supremacy, so there is no argument. But the person telling them that doesn't tell them that it's just to shut it down. They said they're actually teaching these people that this is what's actually happening, all the worst history ever. And so in university or whatever,
Just a heads up. I hope you know it's going to be like a 3-hour episode, probably.
yes, love it.
I don't got
enjoy-
shit to do today, so
I enjoy spending time with you.
love you.
All
too.
right. So anybody who goes to university thinks they're more than the people who don't or who didn't graduate. I ran into a little bit of this. So with the sense of elitism, right? I think they're educated and that we're wrong in our thought for not being as educated. Like, oh, I paid this much and went through the school, went into debt. I didn't actually pay it, so I'm just as equal as all of y'all. But I went to this site with the secret societies and Skull and Bones and all that, and I came out better than, because I came out with this knowledge of maybe some social justice type of stuff. And my dad is wrong. He worked his ass off, but he's white and got white privilege, and he's in debt for putting me through school, but I hate him.
Yeah.
There's like an elitism.
But there's also an aspect. I was talking with someone who studies early colonialism, which is about when the Americans came over here. And I was like, before we get into this chat, I got to make sure that you're like, because there's people who study indigenous studies who really want, like, it's all about the concept of the white man must pay for everything that they've done. But I was talking to him and he goes, well, there's still a large amount of the population, most of the population over here in the States, that still thinks that the white race is superior. And I'm like, what fucking land are you in? Like, where do you, what do you think this idea that there's KKK people and burning crosses on other people's lawn every single day? That doesn't happen. Well, did you see on the news? There we go. That's the ticket. That's the part, is the fact that now everybody has been brainwashed to think this way, and the media has found a way to capture on it because more people want to know more about it. So that's a great way to sell views. So now it's a media hopping on the bandwagon and not even noticing the fact that they're increasing this hatred amongst. Remember the Black Lives
Purpose.
Matter protest? That was big. Almost a year ago now. Where did that go? It's not even fucking talked about anymore. You'll see it in a profile on Twitter every now and again, but this was a giant movement that was lasting for months. And people, Asian hate died out. Everything died out. So did you stop finding the racism and everything just go to politics? What happened? Because I know there's racism out there. Depending on the scale of it, I don't think it's everyone's a racist. I think it's a very, very minuscule few that are very vocal, much like a lot of these kids. Like, for instance, Brett Weinstein, when he went to go storm, he was one of those people that was storming the school to make equality for all races. Then eventually it got down to the point where the school was talking about banning white people from going to the school one day out of the week.
They chased him with baseball bats.
Yeah, and they chased him with baseball bats. So the woke idea, when I've talked to a lot of people who say, "Oh, the woke culture seems like it's doing the opposite." It is, but it's because it's a lot of these people that are involved with it. All they're seeing is one-sided perspective, not looking at the grand picture, where they actually might be the people that are indoctrinated to believe that the world is evil and corrupt. It's bad, sure, but it has good to it, and not every single person out here is a KKK member. And that's where media has captured on that and found a way to make views from it. We're tearing each other apart and having this animosity. And now it's not even really over race anymore. You can call somebody a racist. It's kind of losing meaning to the word now that it gets thrown around all the time. But now it's about political things. It's still color, red versus blue. Does independent need to go fucking orange? Is it need to be something like that to get a good basis out there? But damn it, I haven't even heard stage 2 yet. I'm really scared to see if there's glimpses of stage 2 heading now.
So your buddy said on episode 9, what, 928, right?
Yeah, Kelly.
Yes. He was saying
I talked to a lot of people. You're fucking hitting me with numbers. I'm like, I don't know the numbers. I know the names.
I only just watched it. I'm referencing for the people to go back because I keep bringing them up.
Shameless promotion. I like it.
In 1984, they talk about the party, and cool. I got more stuff from back from earlier. The party, you're talking about like a 10, 15, 20-year plan, but the party is immortal. The party can have a plan as long as it wants. He was saying that I don't know if there is red or blue or any winner or whoever's bought, and it's like interests for, I guess, money. I don't know, power, and they vote on the same things. And then like the blue team is like, oh, we control all the things right now, so we're not even like addressing the red team, but they don't have to because the red team would probably even go with them anyway because oh, we got something on you, or a fist bump.
It's no difference between the Crips and the Bloods. It's people just understanding what a team is and siding with the team rather than
No.
looking at the views of what those teams are.
No. They are the party, the red and the blue team. They only gave themselves like pins for whatever side they sit on. Like, and then we, being from the places that they are from, are like, oh, that's our guy. Like, they're branches in the wind, man. They just sway and whatever
What
because
are you
they
talking about?
like the red team is gonna save us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. If only there was enough red members to get it all done, we could win it all. But then there's like 3 or 4 red members that will like change the vote and like, oh no, that's not, nah, they swayed us. And they're probably bought or held over, or they got blackmail island stuff. Who knows?
So this is where we get TikTokers that start speaking about the apocalypse is here and the Bible has predicted it all, because with every straw man or every person that needs to be blamed, there has to be a savior. With every devil, there's a Jesus.
I just think like there's Illuminati.
I'm in belief of that, but I
Yeah,
don't
of
think
course.
it's the hooded people. I just think it's business people being
Yeah, for sure.
Somehow they managed to
They
make a
just getting
profit.
hoods once a year. That's
Well,
all.
they made a profit off of literally pain of other people and animosity. The more you fight, the more you can post up a commercial or an ad saying how this person and just slander that person's character. The weird part is the fact of censorship, for instance, doesn't affect media sources when media sources countless times and times again, whenever they're sued for slandering a person's character, immediately says you can't sue us because we're entertainment. Somehow we've got it tricked. Maybe it started with Adult Swim. Maybe it ended from this. Maybe that explains why Disney just bought Family Guy. I don't know. But there's an aspect of this type of comedy that we enjoyed of cracking jokes at other people's character is only okay when a giant corporation does it and it's not managed under so. And then when they do get under fire, they're able to back out by just saying we're entertainment. You've based this whole civilization, all these generations on comedy, as in comedy in the form of attacking another person's character, where now people, all they want to see is that. And that means the news also has to do that as well, too. I mean, the fact that I can watch, what is it? Colbert gets up and starts dancing with a bunch of giant needles, talking about get the vax and singing a whole entire vaccine shot song. What kind of fucking shit is that? Where I'm looking at like, this is just weird. This is really strange. That's a 40-year-old man dancing and lifting his fucking loafers above his head, singing with a bunch of people dressed up. Imagine being one of those shots where you're like, this is my fucking life. I'm entertaining on a Friday night show or whatever the hell it comes out, and I'm singing about taking a needle. That's so, I mean, is that going to lead to heroin overdoses increasing? I don't fucking know. But I start to look at like, we're in a very strange time. And I don't think this is a product of how we're supposed to be. I think this is the best game of chess I've ever fucking seen.
For sure. Illuminati Masons fuck with the chessboard. It's one of their markings, like black and white checkered floors. They love it. So opium. China wants revenge. Like fentanyl, synthetic opium. What's it called? Oxycontin and all those and all the epidemics of those. I can't remember which war it was, but China was waging a war, and then their enemy, I think it might have been England. Maybe. Yeah. They flooded the people with opium and crippled the whole country. And I think China might have taken that playbook, the play from the playbook, and it's hooray! I got back to my thought.
Well, okay,
go. Project Paperclip. We've been injected with the anti-American virus. The Nazis, of course, they brought their ideas of hatred, and we lost. We can subvert from the inside. The only way to destroy America is from the inside, because behind every blade of grass is a gun.
Well, behind every door is a racist, apparently.
Only so that we're fighting, so it's easier for the other countries to be like, bust it up, keep busting it up,
make it easier for when they take over.
Yeah, and just like that naval base in Virginia. I'm always saying it's not gonna be Americans that bust up Americans. They're gonna send some some NATO troops or UN soldiers from 12 countries to bust up citizens.
Well, there's an idea of like if I went to the Caribbean, I would get robbed. I would probably get just lost, or I would lose all my money.
Brazil.
I'd get beat up or something. But that's not just the Caribbean. That's any other country I would go to. If I went to China, I'd probably be abducted and probably put into human trafficking.
Yeah, there's like districts you can.
it's just taking advantage of people. And that's always happened throughout every society. Every country has that. It's the idea that, oh, no, it's because of a certain skin color. No, it's not. It's because you're different. And not only because you're different because the color of your skin is because you're not from this area. If I lived in Jamaica, I was born and raised there, and I went to Jamaica, back to Jamaica after being in the States for a certain amount of time, I would know all the tricks. Hustling happens all the time. I got hustled in Hawaii to pay $45 for 2 tiki statues when there were only $6 a pop at a fucking CVS or whatever the hell they had down there. It's not the idea that it's a different race. It's the fact that you're a tourist. You're different. You're not from here.
You're a
You are an
mark.
alien.
You're a mark. I can tell just by the way you walk. I could probably get something out of you. Probably not from here.
Well, like even with the talk about the mark of the beast, this passport or whatever this thing is supposed to be. I mean, the idea that a microchip or anything like that, that's so stupid because they have a cell phone in it. But here's the thing is, how long until we literally have no say in the types of things that are going because we're too busy fighting over each other? At least people now can stop and think, but nobody really wants to stop and think anymore. I think critical thinking is dead in a way. Now, these aren't conspiracies. These are just, we're just having,
Observations.
we're just talking. They're not even facts. We're just speaking our minds about things that we're seeing. So we're not wrong in what we're saying, and we're also not 100% right. But we're noticing the direction of things, like when they said the mandate, this vaccine thing wasn't going to be mandated. Then it became mandated. It's watching the ball going down the hill and knowing you can't stop it. But at this point, we're just going to stand in front of it and let us hit it. There's a weird thing going on with this stage one of literally people fighting each other that is causing people to stop thinking and just stop talking. And when the stopping of talking happens, you lose the disconnection with people's thoughts and trying to understand another person's perspective. I don't think people necessarily disagree with the American values or whatever the American value stands for, but I think they're brainwashed to convince it's something that it's not. I don't think American values stand for crushing on the heads of a certain ethnicity or crushing the heads of a certain thing. I think American values just stand for being happy with the nation that you're in by just having this overall sense of love and bond with the people around you who are also Americans. I was asked a question of, do I use my ethnicity as like, do I think that is who I am? Do you think that defines me? No, I don't think it does. I think the content of your character defines you. But it's a great question because there's a lot of people who use their ethnicity to get up into higher positions, or they use their ethnicity as a card that they can throw out to be like, well, it's because I'm this. I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing. Go use it. Use whatever you got. If you got 2 legs or 2 arms, you have more of an advantage than someone with 1 arm. What I'm saying is, I don't think that defines you. And I don't think that's what defines you as being an American. Either way, you live here, right? No matter what ethnicity you are, you pay taxes here, right? You're born and raised here, right? Even if you're not born here, you own a home here, right? You own a car, right? You got a job, right? You're a fucking American. That doesn't mean that, you're any less value than someone else on the basis of your skin color, because deep down we're all fucking red, white, and blue. Now, if you're from another country, that's the same thing with your country as well too. You're from the UK, you're British, you're whatever, you're from England, you're English, whatever. That is you. Color of your skin doesn't define you. They know that. Everyone wonders why American politics are so goddamn fun. Reason why people are, during this break, we didn't have football for so long. All those football people became into the politics because politics is the best goddamn reality show you've ever fucking seen.
So back to being father of the year. And us speaking on ethnicity, I had to think of what I was gonna mark on his birth certificate. What did I want him to be? Do I want him to be white? Do I want him to be Hispanic? Do I want him to be Native American? Ah, man, I fell for it. Before I was deep in conspiracies, I gave up my spit to the companies. There's a clone of me out there somewhere ready to replace me. I'm so upset.
You had to test to see what diseases you got.
I don't even know if I did that one. I just my dad was adopted, so I know that side of the family. So I was like, hey, maybe I'll come across somebody. He doesn't know what he is, and we don't know what we are. So we did that. And Yeah, I got a lot. I'm 3% African, bro.
That's weird because it says I'm 3% Nigerian.
Yeah, we all cradle of life, right? Um, so I'm like 20% Native American and some Hispanic stuff, and like 30% white, I guess. So I marked it all down. Maybe he'll get some benefits, some college stuff down the road, because
That
it
light
ain't
in
good
your
to be white.
that light in your studio is making you look albino.
Oh yeah, really? I got a tan. I was at the beach. Dang, I need to get more sun then. Now I'll darken up. I used to one of my welding jobs was doing railing out in the sun. And for a summer, I was golden. I was bronze. God, I look good. Got my wife that summer. Well, girlfriend at the time. But yeah, you have to. There's not so. What attributes do I want him to have? Like, it was weird to think about in the hospital. I was like, all right, he might get some scholarship or some benefit for the Native American portion of him or the Hispanic portion of him.
Well, it's the
Um,
strangest thing is that whatever you sign or whatever you decide, whatever his race or whatever it is on that birth certificate, actually is going to affect the rest of his life. To
yeah,
where he might get a job easier, he might actually lose a job because of a certain thing about it. I mean, now the whole thing is instead of raising everyone to the same platform, it's been chop the legs off it or shame the other one. You know, that was the biggest thing with Brett Weinstein, where he talked about was that it wasn't about like the issue with STEM, for instance, or Black STEM or all these hashtags or movements. They're not about raising the platform. It's kind of about like tear down academia. It means that nobody can have it. And it's like, well, shouldn't it be about raising the disproportionate side up to the same level as the other one then if there is a discrepancy? And at this point, they're like, no, we'll just shut it all down to where science is now being questioned, where people have to use trust the science on a thing they don't even know what the fuck it means. It could be fucking an Applebee's recommendation, trust the science. It doesn't make sense because now you've used science to the point where there is no more science now. Science is on the chopping block, fact is on the chopping block. Everything doesn't make sense. A term for fact check is just a censor. How many of these fact checks have you seen that have gotten something fucking wrong? Where it's like, okay, and then you don't see it anymore. They delete the post or something like that. It doesn't make any sense. So we're heading into a weird fucking era. I think it's fucking strange the fact that when you're looking at a birth certificate for your child, whatever you check off or whatever you choose to identify him as is what's going to judge him for the rest of his life. And it's literally a goal thing where it's like, do I want him to be successful? Maybe I should just do this. That's scary shit, man. That's really fucking
I
scary.
don't want him to get bullied, so I'm not gonna put just white. Uh,
Yes, that's scary. And it's the same thing with the other way, too. It doesn't make sense that that's an idea that's in our heads. And I don't think that's supposed to be there. I think that's something that has now brainwashed people instead of trying to evolve past the way we used to think. We're now at a way where we're looking back at the past and seeing how bad it was, where now we have to punish people for something that happened that wasn't even in their lifetime.
and this is you. I was gonna say it's unique to America, but so Asia, as in
There's
all,
racism in Asia as well, too.
that's exactly, and it's not even by color. The
It's by the
color
tone of your
scale.
it's by the tone of your skin.
Well, that's more no. The class is the class determinator. I guess it's kind of. I don't
I
know.
just had my buddy Casey. He's I forgot I forgot what ethnicity he is, but
Well,
he was
the darker you are means the more you work out in the sun means you're
yeah,
of the working class and
that's what
not
he said. Yeah.
like there's actually like skin bleaching creams they have over there so they can emulate being higher class or more pale.
That's a weird fucking realm that we're in. But the fact that everyone thinks that it's only here, not in other countries. I mean, every country has their problems. And I think that's the basis of we have a lot of people that want to forget their country's problems and look towards another countries just because it's in the eyes of the world. And sadly, America is always the one that's pushed under fire. I look at it like, yeah, we might be more entertaining, but this idea of indoctrination, I think we're the one that's just going crazy first. Like during the Stanford prison experiment, that documentary on Netflix, that one guy that just started going crazy before everybody else started going crazy. That's us. Because we had the full force of a sunlight microscope, or whatever you want to say, on top of our heads, like an ant that you're burning on a fucking hill with the little whatever microscope, or what is it? What is it called? Magnifying glass.
Yeah. With us being the shining light on the hill, it just means all eyes are on us. And what's going on here? Trump was an orange magnifying glass. He brought it all the attention to the Americas. And I think everything's changed since Trump.
No, it hasn't. People are using him as a fucking
No.
scapegoat or blame thing now.
No. Everything's changed since he got elected and inaugurated. From him getting in, that's the point that things have changed, where everybody's looking.
Well, it's like even when people make decisions now, I'm not going to do that because of Trump. It's like, well, he hasn't even been in office. Like, what are we fucking talking about here? He's a blame person now. He's the scapegoat that everyone can just go, oh, because of this, because of that. It was like everyone could be like, oh, 9/11, because of 9/11, because of 9/11. You can't keep saying that, though. We're 20 years past. It doesn't make any sense that you're going to use that to blame of why you can't go to fucking work because Trump. Doesn't make any sense to me. But people want to use that because they hate him so much, where I'm like, okay, hate him. That's fine. But can we not use him and keep pushing him forward? Because all you're doing, you're still fucking talking about him, and he's still going to keep going. And it's just, it's fucking nuts.
So let's go back to 1984. It's the handbook. There's a Venn diagram of all the different movies and media that, like, you are here. It's pretty funny. I have to find that for you. The main character, do you remember his job?
In 1984?
Yeah.
George Orwell's or the Wonder Woman?
Winston, the main character in 1984.
Wasn't he like an electrician?
No. His job was to take this piece of paper. This is today's news. Let me just change it to what they told me to and burn this piece. So he was the guy. You're saying, oh, the fact checkers, they just when did they get it wrong, or when did they just delete the post or whatever they've. It's. I'm trying to think of another example. I was looking at a Twitter profile a year ago. People were like, man, I ain't taking nothing Trump is pushing. And then I think that's safe. And then they'll show the updated profile of them. They're one of the recent tweets. Oh man, if you're not jabbed, I don't want nothing to do with you. Like it's Winston would take the piece of paper, the news, Trump is pushing this, and he'd push it down the memory hole and be like, hey, Biden's the champion of this here.
Yeah, you're picking and choosing.
Yeah.
But it only if it fits your narrative. But the weird thing is, I've seen Fox and News play at the same exact time at my work on two different TVs, and they're saying the same exact thing. Somehow the world has all hooked onto one trend again, which is the fact is now it's looking for this influencer, and literally Dog the fucking bounty hunter had to come out and be like, but this, the weird part is this thousands of people go missing all around the world every single day. Why is it so important that this one is and none of these people?
White.
Because he's white?
Yeah. Okay. And young and blonde.
Not Dog, the fucking dude.
No, the girl's blonde.
Yeah.
I saw funny. It said that she was in a music video. I wish I remember which one, because I think it matters. And somebody was saying that he's MK Ultra, and this is some psyop stuff to distract from whatever else is happening.
Well, how has it lingered on for about 2.5 weeks now, and it's still going?
I didn't find him yet. I don't know. It seems like some CW storyline to me.
Well, it's like the coverage of 9/11 that lasted for weeks after it happened for good
reason.
Yeah.
If it bleeds, it leads. Remember, Asian hate it peaked and died out. It's a story. If it peaks and dies out, it'll be gone in 2 weeks, and that's the whole news cycle.
Just
Oh,
milking the shit out of something.
We were talking about Trump in 1984. There was something called the Brotherhood, secret organization. You'll never meet another member, and you'll never know the amount of members. And they had a handbook. Need to message Michael Malice and tell him to write the Brotherhood Handbook. It was the whole book of what is exactly happening, and the 2 minutes of hate. They would have 2 minutes a day where they put the dude on the screen, and they'd throw shoes, they'd scream at him every day. And his name was Goldstein. I liken him to Trump or Alex Jones. In the book, they don't know if he's a fictional character or if he was actually somebody because of the memory hole.
I was hearing toenails against wood floor, and then I see
Hey,
your
puppy.
dog pop up.
Come here, Coda.
It's a Siberian Husky.
You can see him? Come here.
I saw the tail.
Both puppies. Come here. You'll come. Good girl. Good girl.
That's not a Siberian Husky. Must be the other one.
She's mixed with Husky.
Okay.
Sit over there.
It's got the blue eyes.
Yeah. Dakota, come here.
You CRISPR'd your dogs. That's a weird name for a gene editing thing. CRISPR. It sounds like a fried chicken place. It's the same one you just picked up.
Yeah.
Oh, it's got a different tail.
No, it's the same one.
Okay.
Dakota,
I'm going to play stage 2 real quick, okay?
All right.
Here we go.
Come here, buddy.
The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. For the last 25 years, actually it's overfulfilled because demoralization now reaches such areas where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes his balls, then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization. The next stage is destabilization. This time, subverter does not care about your ideas and the patterns of your consumption. Whether you eat junk food and get fat and flabby, doesn't matter anymore. This time, and it takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation. What matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. And you can see quite clearly that in some areas, in such sensitive areas as defense and economy, the influence of Marxist-Leninist ideas in the United States is absolutely fantastic. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed in this part of the world that the process will go that fast. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to.
I just want to pause that real quick because you didn't mute yourself when you coughed. You just clicked a random button again.
What? Really?
No. Maybe your mic isn't
It says
on.
mute. Really?
Maybe you're talking through your webcam.
Is it muted?
No.
It's flashing mute. Oh, I'm so sorry.
You're good.
I'm so sorry.
I just thought that was really funny because
Wow.
you hit it and then you coughed and it was like you're quiet. I was like, I hope he farts.
It's never been muted.
I'm going to play it. Hang on.
All right.
To bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see it in Central America now. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last.
That just went from stage 2 to 4. Okay. So he talked about decentralization, for instance, saying that now you don't care if your Americans get fat, don't care if they get flabby. You would think if you owned your country, much like the Spartans, where every single Spartan was in line and top physical specimen shape to be able to defend against a national threat. The reason why I care about this country so much is I believe that the military should only have one power, and that military is to peace, but more like blocking national threats that come in from outside forces, not coming from inside. I think that goes down to the people to be able to find a way to be able to help each other out in a situation where we don't have murderers happening all the time. The sad thing is we've looked to our government to be able to fix all our core issues. Now, our core issues should be fixed among the people. The people should be on the same page with things. Now, there are some obviously instances or examples that I could be looking towards to say that, well, that can't be a thing. But I think that the government should only have so much power to where they can block national threats. That's what they're supposed to be there to protect us from, is from foreign affairs. When it comes with problems amongst us, we have to be appointing the cops. We have to find people that are going to be fit every single narrative, not just of a certain viewpoint, but we've gotten to the point where we have elections and there's only a certain side that gets their person into office. It should be a person that's equally amongst everybody voted in, because we should all be on the same page. People go, well, not every single person is going to agree. Well, there had to be a time where we all could agree. We all agreed after 9/11 that we needed someone to handle this incident to make sure it never happens again. I think that's part of the reason why George Bush was elected. You needed to look at a factor of the Republicans. Democrats wanted Republicans in at that point because they had the best plan to be able to make this effective strategy to be able to combat, to make sure that this type of incident never happens again. I mean, I'm not wrong in saying this, but this idea that now it's just a bunch of people, it's like before everybody was in top physical condition, like the Spartans, you get all your people in a line and in a row to be able to defend against an attack or something like that. Now they've gotten to the point where they figured out that you can easily do whatever the hell you want if all your people are flabby and don't give a fucking shit about their lives and just want to stay inside and play video games all day.
um Man, I keep saying I like to say to other people. I'm always saying that wars, the current wars, or just the weird ones that come out of nowhere, like send those guys over there to the unknown spot. You take the strongest and the most patriotic, the most influential father figures or group leaders or whatever, you take them all, the people who would make a difference, like teaching 12 other people something. If you take that guy out of the scenario because you're like, oh man, your country needs you, bro, it's over there, and you just start wiping out hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of these boys, that it shapes the future. Those are the wolves. We're sending off the wolves while we're breeding chihuahuas and pugs and Frenchies over here in the Americas. Like, it's making us soft domestically if we just keep sending off the people that would. They're doing what we want. We want the things over here, and the guys who would mess things up over here for us are dying. Is win-win.
Well, a part of decentralization where you're refusing to believe, even though the evidence is clear in front of you. Like he was saying, imagine showing someone a concentration camp, showing them this is happening, and refusing to believe the truth right in front of their face, all because they're comfortable with the side or stance that they go into. The issue now is people have labeled up too many facts or too many claims, and they've gone back on those things. And now people go, we can't look at that. We have to look at the new evidence. It's like, well, now you should have a mistrust, or you should just have a basic question in your head for the thing that you've seen. But there's people that don't want to believe that. They want to look at everything that gets put on the giant screen, or if the president said, I think a lot of people don't even believe in this lab thing on a concept of the president hasn't said anything about it. Did you notice the major show that fucking happened where Father of the Year got his vaccine in front of the whole fucking world? And I'm like, a lot of people went, I thought he was already. And it's like, no, he wasn't. And it kind of became hypocritical, the fact that he was mandating it if he hadn't gotten it himself. But why did it have
third? I think he got the third.
Oh, he got the third. But I was like, but why did he have to get to this level of making a public display? Is this not bread and circus? Is this not this type of giving people a show? When we talk about reality television, that seemed like the season finale right there.
Did you see the offside picture?
Mm-mm.
There's a picture of he's on a set. If you're looking at him straight on, it's like windows.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he's
I saw that.
okay. But if you turn to like 9 o'clock, it's a drop off to the stage, and then there's like a bull pit of reporters and stuff. It's all for show.
Yeah.
Smoke and mirrors. I can't verify this. I probably shouldn't bring it up, but I seen a picture of it. Not even like
Don't even.
all right,
Yeah.
because that could be taken before or after.
Well, it's like a factor of like we talk about like how much people believe that there's a whole bunch of racism, that every single person's racist. That horse photo of the guy at the border, it was the reins. They photoshopped the reins to look like it was whipping the guy when really he was grabbing the back of the person's shirt. The dude had a hand on the reins and the dude had a hand on the person's shirt. And there's photos afterwards of these people after they were put behind this one side. And it was a guy, one of the border patrol people, giving a child some water. It was a guy who was a father who talked about, no, I was not whipping that person. Most people jumped on that headline and started retweeting all the fact that this place is racist. It's like during the Black Lives Matter thing, that Asian lady that was kicked in the face. The guy brought a foot up to her face, like a roundhouse to the lady's face in front of the store. It kept going, look at all this Asian hate still happening. The white men must suffer. But then it turned out the actual photo of the guy came out and he wasn't white at all. People were jumping onto it because they're already riled up thinking this, and then they see something that goes into their side and they retweet the shit out of it and blast it. But then it comes out not to be true. We don't see the blasting headlines or the apologies saying, oh, we jumped too soon, I'm so sorry, because the media knows they can profit off you this way.
I hear that it's just man assaults Asian woman, or it's just won't specify who, and then by default it just goes to the one who's under the magnifying glass. For man, I heard there's only like 3,000 members of the KKK.
There's way less than that.
Yeah, right. So, or the ones in jail if you count them.
You're telling me if you saw a person wearing KKK robes walk in the middle of the street, you wouldn't say what a piece of shit?
Probably not. I'd not go around him, but it's at number one, bro. You got to do it.
If I saw someone wearing a KKK robe, I'd say what a piece of shit.
Yeah, and internally, but I'm not going to approach this person.
Yeah, but that's what your thought that would go in your head is what a piece of shit, right?
Well, yeah, but
most of the world will probably think what a piece of shit.
That dude got balls, though. You can say that.
Or you'd be like, are they doing a comedy skit? Is this fucking a movie
that's
scene?
what I would assume first. I would assume it's some YouTube, TikTok, something weird. But Alex Jones was just saying that his lawyer represents the satanic something of America, and he said if everybody's got to be represented, First Amendment, they can have theirs, I can have mine, but Alex Jones doesn't have his. All these Alex Jones was the first domino to normalize the demoralization of just that shouldn't be here, that shouldn't be here, I don't think this should be here. Once people accepted, this is what actually started me on everything, was Alex Jones being taken down. So I'm gonna throw my hat in there. I'll just add to the fire.
I was about to say, now everything you say, everyone's gonna be like, he's an Alex Joneser.
Yep. Well, no, I'd stand up for his right to be on these platforms and unsilenced and unpersoned like 1984. Memory hold.
I stand up for everybody's right to be able to say how they feel or anything that they believe. It's just trying to find out if they actually believe these things or they saying it because they're using a disguise. You know how many people I can't get on my show on an aspect of just not using your real name is because I don't necessarily know if they believe that the things that they're saying. They just want to find a way, or maybe using a fake name is a great way so you can express yourself or say the things that you want to say without losing and hurting your reputation. The only issue is that I think that if you're saying it under your real name, then it shouldn't hurt your reputation at all because of how you believe. It's your reality. It's why we have people that believe that the earth is flat. They think that they're right. That's their reality. There's an important part to that. But the factor of you're afraid to say something because how people might view you is where we start to have the issue. Why have we gotten to a point where everything that we believe is a definitive correct answer? What I say, I don't know. I'm just giving my thoughts and my interpretations of things that I've seen. Doesn't mean I'm right. I'll be the first to admit that I'm wrong. But this is the reality that I've kind of been consumed in. Doesn't mean I'm 100% true and everyone else is a sheep. It doesn't mean that at all. I might be the sheep. I think we're all fucking sheep to a bigger system.
Our waking reality is MK Ultra. Is I just saw a meme that said that, and I thought it was really funny because it kind of is, because real reality, raw reality is death and killing and animalistic blood, and the screen has manufactured our reality in a way to where, like the Uyghurs and not seeing the concentration camps, all that's happening. And
Was it Fox or CNN that got a ban because they flew a drone over one of these camps where it showed the kids in cages? They banned the fact that you can't take videos of kids in cages. Doesn't mean it's still not happening, but it's hear no evil, see no evil, hear no evil, or won't speak any evil.
so
Banning things doesn't stop it from happening. What it does is it causes it to go somewhere else. If you ban a certain thing off the internet or Facebook, then it goes to fucking Reddit. If you ban it off Reddit, it goes to another platform. You banned Alex Jones off YouTube and all these things. You now cause him to go to InfoWars or make his own site that gets viewing and gets traction. I had a guy when I was talking about Alex Jones, he was a military historian. He goes, the issue with this is now you're giving him more money and more views by everyone likes that explosive figure. It's funny when you see him take whatever drug and then chug it with a beer, then start saying the name of the drug you're not supposed to say all over the fucking place in this weird tyrant type of mania. But we're all maniacs. We're all this type of mania that we're suffering from. The issue is, I think I saw this article about Facebook with Mark Zuckerberg, why he's under fire right now, is because Facebook treats you like a consumer when you're really the product. Facebook is not just selling you products, they're treating you as you are the product. You are their thing that they're selling. They're giving your information. That's the biggest issue with Mark Zuckerberg where he went to court, was he was selling your private data to other companies and other people, other organizations, other countries. China loves our fucking data. That was the issue with banning TikTok and Clubhouse, was that they were I had someone that I told about this when I heard Josh Rogan's podcast, and I sent it to them. I said, look at this. This is very important. TikTok and Clubhouse, I won't support them because they do this type of thing. They go, well, you're calling me this because I actually like using those. I was like, no, but just be aware that that's happening. I'm aware with a bunch of apps that's happening, and I don't use those apps for that specific reason. I mean, we all kind of agree that our phones are not being made in a good way. We're all fucking knowing that these phones are made in a horrible conditions, probably, and being paid way under due for the things that we use. But
and
we're
then they're
all,
bad for us too.
yeah. So you got to understand that you can't. I'm me criticizing that does makes me a hypocrite because I use a cell phone. But I know the fact that I barely use my cell phone, but I still understand where it's being made from. Now, eventually TikTok owns its own servers now in the States. So a lot of our data isn't being sold over there. But that was the biggest issue where there's these lawsuits and these bannings of TikTok that were going to be happening because of the data usage and all that being stored and sent over to other countries. It's all about being a spy, man. Eventually you can't have your own robots or these types of things being in your own house that are made from another country because they're going to spy on you. It's like those kids that gave Clinton that portrait or that painting and there was a bug inside of the painting, and it's like, how many of our electronics have bugs in them? How many of this? Now people are worried about our own country spying on us. What about when it's another country doing so? I don't know about you, but I'm more than happy with my own country spying on me rather than another country spying on us, because that gives them more information about what's going on over here and lets them distort their perceptional view. Yeomi Park, one of North Korean's defectors, talked about how a lot of those people in North Korea think that we're all cold-blooded because they're taught Americans are cold-blooded over there.
I don't want my country.
I don't want to be spied on in general,
well,
but
they're in cahoots with the other countries that would spy on us.
everything's fucked.
I just want to people who like don't like conspiracy. I just want to be like, do spies exist?
No.
No.
Yes.
Of course. Then conspiracy exists. That's the quickest line.
Well, the idea that like I think Mike Baker, the ex-CIA guy, was talking about, he goes like Area 51. Like, do you think that the government, like, do you think that if they have an idea that there's a UFO thing out there, do you think that they're just going to be like, oh no, we're not researching into it? A national security threat like that, you think the government's just not looking into it? No, they're fucking looking into it. Do you think if anybody gets a new age type of cell phone or a next level device or some next level plasma technology about these ideas or these bills talking about plasma technology or laser beam technology, do you think it's the government's just not looking into it anymore? They're 100% still looking into that shit. They're 100% still working with that shit. The Area 51 thing that happened 2 years ago, you think the government just stopped? Fuck no. If they looked into it once, they're still looking into it. This idea that the psychological programs of creating Jedis or whatever, these types of things that happened 10, 15 years ago, do you think they just stopped doing that? No, they just don't fucking talk about it. They're still looking into it.
Area 51 is a front.
For what? Drugs?
No. That's the one that we know about. I'm sure there's Area 59, 62, 69. I'm sure you've seen in like cartoons the bubble facility underwater where we're like an observatory underwater. Like, I'm sure that exists. I'm sure there's subterranean cave pyramids.
This next level ice age that's supposed to happen, where the global greening or whatever, all these carbon emissions that they keep promoting or they keep saying is destroying the earth, all the carbon levels are going up. The things that they're causing or creating, this Alex Jones said this 2 years ago, that they're creating this global greening with these electric cars where they're saying it's going to help the earth is actually making it worse. It's causing it to get to this next level of collapse where civilization is going to be like another ice age again. That's going to kill off most of the population. You're telling me the government doesn't have a bunker where they're underground being able to protect themselves from this ice age type thing where it turns into fucking Snowpiercer, where they get to just come up when everybody else is dead and be able to do whatever the fuck they want and not have to worry because the world's already gone to shit. Now, there's a person I heard on a family member of mine's radio station. They had it on there called Z-Man, where he was supposed to, he talked about this. He's like involved in like this secret stuff he can't ever get into. They don't even know his real name. Now take that for whatever you want, because I've talked to people that have been abducted by aliens, and you know, it's cool to be open-minded on it, but you know, some people won't that are listening to this. But he talked about how like there's this alien, apparently the government met in 1940, Voltron, that worked with the president secretly or something like that. Talked about how like there's this tech or this idea, these things that we don't know. And then you're hearing people from the CIA talk about technology or propulsion systems with Bob Lazar that the government keeps hidden away, that they don't really show. I think all these electronics or these propulsion systems, I think this is tech that they obviously have been looking into. These aren't just ideas that are made of something. It might be a kernel of a lie, but it's got to be riddled with some truth, right? Some of that stuff or this technology, back to the beginning of what we're saying, that we see in movies, man, if the government sees a cool movie and goes, man, that would be cool to work on something like that. You're telling me they haven't tried it? They haven't seen something and thought about testing it at one point?
I recently saw a video of I know you see all the robots doing like dumb little walk stuff, right?
The
Where
DARPA
like,
stuff?
yeah, probably. I don't remember who exactly it is, But it's hilarious to think that they're just, oh yeah, they're just showing us what he can do. He can do little hops, do little steps, but when they turn the camera off, he's just chugga 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 chugga. I seen a Japanese robot where it is the fighting robot from Avatar.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Real Steel.
Oh no, it's the one you can get in with the cab and the arms.
Yeah.
And dude's just doing little rock step. And I'm like, bro, I know the capabilities of this thing. This thing can run 25 miles per hour or something. I also saw a meme of scientists just looking at vats of like 30 feet tall giants. And I was like, Avatar's telling Avatar 2. God.
Well, did you ever see the movie Space Travesty with Leslie Nielsen? He's the guy who's in Naked Gun.
No, I was thinking about Lost in Space.
Well, Space Travesty is just like a Naked Gun space movie where they end up cloning the president of President Clinton. And they ended up like they said that the president's been captured and replaced by a clone. So they do this whole secret mission where they have
he has
to,
like a mole or something.
yeah. So they have to do this whole secret mission where they have to get like Clinton back, the real Clinton back into the presidency because the president is a robot, and then take care of the clone. They ended up accidentally kidnapping the real president and then putting the clone into the president's spot on accident. Dude, that movie's fucking like legit shit. Like, this is where the reptile theories come from, man, where I start looking at the fact of like, I don't think that there's clones out there. Maybe there is. What evidence do you have that there are clones besides? Here we go. The sheep. They cloned a sheep. Do you think they just stopped at one sheep and never did it again? They bet you they fucking did it. Yeah, you gave your fucking DNA and your saliva to them, man. You're definitely a clone, bro.
Yep. Check my bottom lip for some dots. Seen that movie?
Well, see, you got to be careful though, because when you say this type of stuff, you start having these types of mental health syndromes that are out there where there's an actual syndrome where people think that everyone in their life has been replaced by a clone. That's an actual mental health syndrome. Maybe they're fucking legit. Maybe I'm a clone of a Robbie and I just believe everything that I know up to the point that I was cloned. Or maybe
you gotta check your bottom lip. There's
what's on my bottom lip?
Every time you're cloned, you get a dot. So it counts how many times you've been cloned. It's an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Why does it gotta be your bottom lip? I can't see that unless I'm looking in the mirror.
It was a good movie. What 80s or 90s movie talking about clones and future society, and
maybe every freckle you have is a fucking
every mole
different clone mark.
I do get some pop up randomly.
Oh god damn it. Brandon got in a fight with his welding machine again. We gotta make sure we gotta put the clone in.
Oh god. Man.
Well, my theory is that if people start diving into like anything on the Freedom of Information Act site, you just have to type in the keywords to be able to unlock it, but you have to know the specific time and dates. So if I say that Brandon did some type of thing with the government a year ago, I have to know the exact date and time and what minute it happened, what day it was, what month it was, what the weather was like outside. And you type it in on the Freedom of Information Act site. If I'm off on any of those subtle things, it'll say no results found. But if I get everything lined up, you find it. Because you have that much information on it where they go, okay, he obviously knows it exists. I've talked to a couple of people, my buddy David, who is a guy I was telling you about that said, like, you got to check the Alex Jones thing. You got to see that he's kind of crazy, gets views on that type of thing. He's a military historian who does a documentary, this thing that's going on the History Channel. Now, he was talking about the fact is like, a lot of this information and stuff. He spent 25 years researching into something which happened to be Canada's biggest fucking thing that they made a fucking movie about where everyone called him a conspiracy person, but he spent 25 years looking into this, getting all the documents lined up. And then 3 days later, after he talked to them about this to get the documents released, they released it all open to the public because they knew he was on to something. He got all his fucking ducks in a row. Just like Tom O'Neill, who spent 10 years writing a book about the Manson murders, finding out that the government was drugging him. It's like you have to get all your fucking information in a row. And if you try and say it too early or blow your whistle too early, it's why we have whistleblowers, man. These whistleblowers are treated like scum of the earth when really they're good people. For instance, Edward Snowden, he did something illegal. He exposed a lot of government secrets, but everyone considers him like an enemy of the state. Now, to the government, he's an enemy. But didn't he not make us aware of a lot of shit that our government was doing to us and literally bulldozing over us?
Yeah, as we're talking shit, this thing's just listening, making a record of
I'll know when a fucking van pulls up to my house and takes me out.
I've always talked about the van in the middle of the night, just like 1984. That's what they do. The thought police will come in the middle of the night. The children will tell on you and tell the government and the party that they're dissenters. They're not thinking along the lines of the party. They actually want, they snuck some contraband in the house.
Well, it's funny because after we talked and I showed you that, remember we talked about that clip where you took the words out of my mouth about the Virginia governor who talked about late term abortion.
Yeah.
I saw a guy bring that back up on Rogan. He goes, yeah, I was listening to one of your episodes. I think his name's, I could search up his name real quick, but he talked about how it was taken out of context of the thing that he was saying. Now, about doing that, but it's been proven that hospitals won't revive someone who has an organ donor card on their thing if it's a motorcycle accident type of thing. That's been proven that has happened before. So Biomedical Tissue Services of Japan was this thing in Japan that would happen was that these vans would just grab people and you would never see them again. And they were called the Biomedical Cleaning Services or Tissue Services of Japan or whatever, that were actually harvesting organs and using those types of cell type things.
It was Christians.
They were
and
just
Buddhists.
Oh.
Religious zealots. There is only one religion, the government, the party.
I'm trying to find the guy's name that was.
Crap. I wrote Australia down because we had talked about demoralization, and then the boot crushing your balls. You won't know it's happening until the boot's crushing your balls. Like phase 2, that's what it was. People say that you don't know that you've fell into the plot until you smell the blood of the when you're in line of the people before you.
Huh?
There's a meme, it explains it better. It's like a cow, hey, they're killing us, and everybody, all the cows are standing in line. They're like, no, they're not. Hey, they're putting the spike through our heads. And they're like, no, but once they start to smell the blood, then they're like, oh man, was that person right? It's almost like too late. Like the government in Australia is stomping out the citizens. It's too late.
I just look at it like the idea that the government's not doing these types of things or anything is like this is happening is it's just, I mean, would you not do it if you had a bunch of power and you were interested in researching things? I don't think it's seen as that bad when you're doing it. You know what I mean? Like if me and you wanted to research into a certain thing that we know a lot of people might be against. I mean, it just happens that most of society is against this type of thing, but it's like the Nuremberg trials. We forgave all those scientists that were studying it, the Nazis were studying, because we wanted their information and research so we didn't have to do it for ourselves. I mean, everybody has this curiosity to what happens if you tried to clone somebody. Now, depending on what methods it would be for cloning, I mean, stem cells. Not even a couple of years ago, those things were seen as like crazy ass shit you had to go to another country to do. But now it's like a common thing, that normal thing. People go, oh yeah, that's stem cells, right? Yeah. Biotech, biohacking. There's a whole different line of people out there now where there's futurists, people that are studying machine like what? You're writing that down too?
You're talking about how the future would collapse and we live in dystopian carbon.
Well, there's people that
it's just going to look like Batman Beyond.
Well, there's just people that want to see tech at the supreme sci-fi Jetsons like stage. And it's not going in the stage of the Jetsons. It's going in a stage of replacing people.
The
Andrew
Matrix.
Yang, a long time ago, when he was running, was talking about how AI tech was eventually going to take the job of the working man. Now that's seen as a possibility. That is seen as an actual thing that's going to happen, where AI tech is it's going to spark up the Luddite movement. The Luddite movement, which people say is just a fake whatever thing that happened, but in history during the Industrial Revolution or the Industrial Age, was talking about printing presses taking people's jobs, where farmers were breaking printing presses and these types of machines because they thought that they were never going to be able to have their job again and would stop the cutoff to their family being able to be fed. Now, whenever you want someone to act out of emotion rather than thought, you start bringing in their family, their source of living, their idea that they're not going to be able to provide for their family, or you bring up a child, which where we get the QAnon movement. There's a way to make people act without rationalization on things is when you bring in something that happens to do with their emotions, whether it's race, whether it's whatever, rather than having them think about a situation full, I guess, face value of what it is, such as that picture that was distorted of that person on a horse whipping that person. Wasn't whipping him at all, was reining in his horse while the dude had his hand on the back of the person's shirt. People acted out of emotion and anger rather than thinking things clearly. This is going to keep happening more and more and more to the point where people aren't going to want to listen or see anything that they want to say. Instead of questioning the media, we began to question people. When did that start happening? When you question your neighbors. You're literally, it's like having a country fight itself is like having people in your house that don't agree with each other, that just want to fight all the fucking time. It doesn't make sense. And it only gets worse and worse and worse if you can't stop it or talk about these types of things. You should be able to talk about the issues that you have, not fight over simple shit and get each other misconstrued in so many other ways. If you look up the show Middle Ground on YouTube, they talk about these things. It's like a vaxxer and anti-vaxxer talk, flat earther and a scientist from NASA talk. It's all about like you start to realize like if you can have a common discussion and get over your ideal that you're right and this person's wrong and just sit there and listen to things at face value, you start to hear things easier. You start to not misconstrue the things that people say. How many times someone sees a text message or they see something written on social media and they jump to the conclusion this is what the person meant rather than hearing that person out.
It's just easier, you know? So we're all speeding towards this dystopian future that everybody's predicted. Have you ever watched a movie? Do you ever like do you ever think that like do they not have movies in the movies?
Yeah.
Like we're living like those people. We're living this, well, we're as the existential, we're living this reality like these thoughts never existed, and if they did, it's just in fiction. But there's literally like examples of all these futurist ideas in front of us, and nobody's willing to believe it because it's under the guise of fiction.
I just want to let you know that Yuri thing is from 1984.
Yuri.
The Yuri Benzanov, the Russian guy we were playing.
Yeah.
That all is from 1984.
So George,
we still got another 3 minutes to get through that video, but we're almost 2 hours in on this one. So it's like I said, it's going to be a 3-hour recording. So if you need to take a bathroom break, let me know.
Maybe in a bit.
Okay.
George Orwell wasn't even his real name.
It was George Huckleby.
I think you're right.
It's
no. Let's see.
It's the guy from the Orville Redenbacher. He has the best kettle corn in the business.
There it is.
You remember Pepperidge Farm? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Pepperidge Farm remembers when
the
government took you in the middle of the night.
Remember when the government used to be red, white, and blue? Pepperidge Farm remembers. Barely.
It's almost non-existent anymore. Man, George Orwell was he was trying to tell everybody the system.
Drink a little bit of more of that whiskey.
No, I don't have any more.
I'll pause it for you to get another glass.
Oh, you don't want me to get another glass?
I do.
Oh my God. Crap.
I'm having so much fun.
As long as you're having fun. I was like, man, I'm making no sense.
I'm fucking enjoying it.
We can do that.
Okay, I'm gonna pause it.
All right.
We're back, and if you made it this far, congratulations. And here we go again. Brandon, if you have anything written down that you want to address, just because I forgot where we left off on, but if you don't, I'll just play the Yuri video again.
If y'all made it this far, y'all are champs, and y'all about to be really in for it because Robbie convinced me to double up.
Liquor makes the lies of the government come out.
Oh yeah, the government's liquor. All right, that's something. In 1984, we were talking about George Orwell. In 1984, you only had one brand of everything that you could have. Variety is decadence. So in like the first chapter, Winston describes his gin and that they have rations, that they are well, he had like an apple for lunch. He had like ticket for a vending machine or something. But the gin was like rubbing alcohol and it was real cheap and everything. But when he got to visit the upper crust people, they had a variety of different liqueurs and extravagant glasses and crystal and everything. And I just think that I always go back to this, that they're trying to make the separation in class and wealth more drastic. Like and then you were talking about how the Spartans would keep their population fit and in shape, which is a great idea, to have a fighting force of every able-bodied man and everything. In 1984, they had the camera and the screen, and it would watch you exercise, and they'd be like, hey, C976, touch your toes deeper, you're not doing enough. And they would have them exercise to not be a burden on the system. Like they would be fit enough to operate daily and work daily.
So then is wokeness a good thing? Because remember the woke CIA commercial where they talked about just having like, oh, they had a gay person on the CIA, they had a person, and it was all these different things that were like, but do they want to be in the CIA, or are you only hiring them because they're gay? Like, it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? You would want the best people fit in the best position, no matter if they're straight, gay, whatever. Only the best people should be involved in foreign affairs like that, dealing with the CCP or dealing with all these concentration camps happening in other countries and all these sanctions and all these things that are happening when it comes to foreign affairs, not just because they're gay. So did wokeness throw a hole in that plan of making an elite force or an elite tactical mission where at this point they've given up? Because now it's like you have to have a certain of this, you have to have a certain of this. They'll literally hire people on movies and different sets to get a black person or get a transvest or transgender person in there or get whatever in there, and then take a picture in the boardroom like they were a part of the writing group, all because they don't want to show to the media that they have all white people or all this or all certain thing of this. They need to have that token person. Do you think that the wokeness has thrown a bomb hole into that to this point where the government's like, fuck it, we can't run this way, so we have to run with it, and we have to just say, fine, everyone's accepted, but you're not really our elites. We're just going to make you dumb and stupid.
I think that that's like a numbers game ratio. In the 100,000 CIA members, there's probably like however many gays, and they can just pluck one up for the commercial on some Tekashi 6ix9ine, pluck them and put them in front of the camera type of deal. I think tying a real idea to my name, dang. I think there's the whole depopulation thing. I think there's just multiple streams of different ideas to decrease the population over time. I think even in like the highest upper crust of Illuminati, if we want to call it that, are probably debaucherous and don't want to be judged, because the people you can't criticize are the people in power. If you want to know like if you're saying you can't criticize this person for this idea, that's probably the class or the sect that's in power. Like the normalization of boy love is probably because somebody at the top is into that and doesn't want to be chastised or lose their stuff.
Well, after a couple of years of pushback saying that pedophilia isn't a thing, it's a sexual orientation, or saying that pedophilia is a mental health issue, you're now slowly dehampering what that powerfulness of how people would react over seeing some type of pedophile action happening. And sadly, that means the government would have to switch on to a different tactic, because it seems like the only way the government has been able to control or blackmail people is with the idea of pedophilia. People act emotionally out of pedophilia. Like I said, it goes back to the kids thing. So if you consider that, oh, it's actually a mental health thing. So actually, if you have an affiliation for kids and you're an adult, that means that there's something mentally wrong with you. And instead of putting you in jail, we have to get you mental health. And now we're a mental health society, right? So that means how many people are going to change their views on that, where a couple generations from now, pedophilia is just not going to be seen as anything. It's going to be seen as a sexual orientation. That's where it's kind of heading, is what a lot of things are being pointed at now.
Exactly. I don't think it's, see, like we're just putting our hands in front of that ball that's coming, and there's not really much we can do about it besides this, is spread the idea of like, hey, they're doing it on purpose to not lose their things or their status, or they don't want to be blackmailed. And then what would be the next thing after that? It's almost hard to fathom what they would be shamed for, because the root of this idea is that back in the day, politicians would be outed as being gay, or hiring hookers, male prostitutes, or
Yeah, the
whatever.
one guy that was went to jail for setting up his brother-in-law with a prostitute, when all he did was something that has been known to happen with marriages that fall off and get divorced, is somebody's cheating. But he used it as blackmail. He shouldn't be jailed for it, but he was jailed for it. He was actually sent to prison for doing that, for getting set up with a prostitute.
So, hey man, I seen you at, I can't think of a funny strip club name. I seen you at the strip club and you
Johnny
left
Knockers, call him Johnny Knockers.
At this date, I got a picture of you being adulterous on your wife, and I'd like actually this put into this week's bill or vote or whatever, or I'm gonna tell your wife, or hi, puppy came in, or you're hey man, it's election year and I just seen that you had this, I actually sent this male boy escort to you, and I actually have evidence and papers, receipts of you doing this, and I just want this passed this week. Or it's just,
Well, that was the Epstein thing, with a lot of people
well,
talking about maybe all these people involved on Epstein's flight probably weren't involved in child pedophilia. It was more about hanging with someone like Scientology, for instance. If me and you joined Scientology, we could possibly get to see Tom Cruise. Now, in every faction of our life, we wouldn't see Tom Cruise. But with the Epstein flights, there's questions to how drunk did someone might get where they start Googling the age of consent in a certain state, or the lowest age of consent, and seeing if it would pass. Or you're so hammered, you sleep with someone that looks like they're 20 or 30, and really they're 14 years old.
So like in the 80s, those would be the things that would be used for blackmail. It would be adultery or homophobia.
Mm-hmm.
But as those get normalized, right, it's not so bad. We accept gays. It's cool to be gay, you know.
Eventually, we'll have convicts that can vote. It used to be illegal. If you have if you've done anything illegal, or you ever been to jail or prison, you cannot vote. Not if you've ever been to jail. If you've ever been to prison, you cannot vote. If you're a convicted convict, you cannot vote. But then now people are eventually probably going to change their mind on that, where convicts can vote.
I'm not mad at it. Like,
I still stand on the ground, much like I stand on the ground of any Olympic athlete shouldn't be taking any drug, whether it's even fucking Tylenol. I think that if you've broken the law in this country and been convicted and gone to prison for it, depending on what that crime is. Now, we could pull a Biden where we lessen the sentence for cocaine and then we raise the sentence on crack. And then you find out a couple of years later it's because his son is a known cocaine addict. I don't know. It's up to you. I mean, how many times did people talk about Trump being a lobbyist with Russia? And then you get to see Biden's son who's accepting $500,000 deals with people from Russia. Then he stops doing that, starts painting, and then mysterious buyers are buying his paintings for $500,000. I mean, raising a question that would be nice.
So I think that the Olympics should be a raffle.
What, everyone gets a medal, or
No, it should be random draft.
You can't do that.
Yeah, you can.
Well, that's not. It's about testing your skills.
It's country versus country. I think it's a test. It's a test of this country's people versus this country's people being better, right? But if those people are training, they're all in the class of their own. They're all Olympic athletes. But if we're testing country versus country on whatever, I think it should be random.
I think you should get paid to do the Olympics. That's the first issue I would fix.
Yeah, I didn't know they didn't.
No,
I think any sports like college football should be paid.
The one person, there was a kid, probably I think it was like in his 20s or something, won the Olympics, won a gold medal, but I guess something happened. He missed his bus or something like that. And he had to pay a taxi guy. Didn't have money to pay the taxi dude. The dude just dropped him off the Olympics. Is like, don't worry about it. You're an Olympic athlete. Go perform, go do your best. Dude sold his medal to a pawn shop and then gave the guy cash for the medal. That got him to the fucking Olympics.
Yeah.
These Olympics people, like the gymnasts and stuff, nobody only cares about that sport only like once every 4 years when it comes up to the Olympics. These gymnasts, they go back to their fucking job at Panera Bread. Like that's what
should be random.
Happens. Yeah. Well, you should get paid. I just don't like you taking drugs. Now, she talked about how apparently her ADHD medication was the thing that got banned, which is what she was taking because in Japan looks at it differently. Well, that's just the place on where you're from. If the Olympics would have happened here that year, then it probably wouldn't have been banned. So it's just how they view drugs. But I don't even want you really taking Tylenol about it. You know what I mean? It just gets to a point where it seems like you talked about before, this variety and decadence. It seems like we've let all these things that are decadence now become these things that are now a requirement. And I think that's a big issue. You know, I've been taking a lot of times off my phone now and being off social media a lot more besides posting. And there's a giant release you get to feel from it where you really don't need to be on it as much as you did before, but it can easily be brought back in. Like for me, when I get addicted to something or something becomes too costly, I just stop getting it. Coffee, stop getting it. You know, it's October, so I'm doing sober October, which just means I'm doing way more cardio sessions. Like today I did 5, but you know, I'm trying to find different ways to cut things out. If I feel the need to have a coffee or something, I need to change my mind or do something else to be able to get my mind off coffee. I just feel like I'm drinking it because there's nothing to do in that moment. So I need something to do. It's kind of like having an oral fixation about something.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never cut back on anything I like. I feel like I'm not the worst.
Yeah, if you necessarily notice that you're not doing a bad problem with it, that's not bad.
I drink all week.
Yeah, about to say that's your second one. That's nothing, dude.
And this is all week.
There are people that go every single day and get a bottle of fucking giant whatever tequila and drink that in their fucking car and cry every single day, and that's the only thing they look forward to. If you need something to get you into the next day, is necessarily not a good thing and it's not a bad thing. But if it's something that's damaging to your life where you feel reliant on that one thing and you think about it all day, and so you get to that point where you have that 20 minutes or hour of just love and admiration from it, like the guy who exposed the McDonald's thing recently.
I was just about to be like, man, I love you, Robbie.
Who's the guy that guy exposed? I'm gonna have to search this up real quick, but guy exposed McDonald's. It was really recently.
Supersize Me?
No, this was like really recently.
Oh, the health standards?
Yeah.
That dog and cat food have higher health standards than American. Oh, I can't say those three letters and what they think. Have you seen that?
What?
You can't uh uh can't say anything negative about the jab or any three
Yeah.
letter approved. All right, cool.
I'll say, why do you keep bringing that up?
I didn't know if you heard it, but you hear everything. So
So it says McDonald's hit by data breach. Hack exposed some US business information, customer data in South Korea and Taiwan. So McDonald's Corporation said hackers stole some data from its systems and markets, including the US, South Korea, and Taiwan, in another example of cyber criminals infiltrating high-profile global companies. The burger chain said Friday that it recently hired external consultants to investigate unauthorized activity on an internal security system prompted by a specific incident in which the unauthorized access was cut off a week after it was identified, McDonald's said. The investigators discovered that company data had been breached. So what did this company data have, though? Why doesn't it give you all the things that it's supposed to give you?
at top search is never the one you want. Since we had talked about well before this, you talked to me about wanting to talk about JFK. I was doing some Googling, some YouTubing on some videos, and it was all the most milk toast, Lee Harvey Oswald, no type of different opinions. It was like hard to find. Oh, I tried to look up his actual secret society speech, and it was not to be found.
The JFK speech?
Yeah.
Well,
Where
it's
we're
because the secret society speech is like a good 15 minutes or 20 minutes, right? And they only take that one little clip out.
I listened to a 14-minute one, and it was about Cuba because I was looking for the secret society quotes.
It's Shadow Society.
Oh, okay. But yeah, it was talking about Fidel and Cuban Missile Crisis. Good.
I'm gonna play the rest of this clip.
All right.
Well, so this is the Yuri Bezmenov's KGB defector thing, warning to America 1984.
Island change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda. When the Soviet tanks moved into Czechoslovakia in 1968, Comrade Brezhnev said, now the situation in brotherly Czechoslovakia is normalized. This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis, to promise people all kind of goodies and the paradise on earth, to destabilize your economy, to eliminate the principle of free market competition, and to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C., with benevolent dictators like Walter Mondale, who will promise lots of things, never mind whether the promises are fulfillable or not. Your leftists in United States, all these professors and all these beautiful civil rights defenders, they are instrumental in the process of the subversion only to destabilize the nation. When their job is completed, they are not needed anymore. They know too much. Some of them, when they get disillusioned, when they see that Marxist-Leninists come to power, obviously they get offended. They think that they will come to power. That will never happen, of course. They will be lined up against the wall and shot. But they may turn into the most bitter enemies of Marxist-Leninists when they come to power. And that's what happened in Nicaragua. You remember most of these former Marxist-Leninists were either put to prison or one of them split, and now he's working against Sandinistas. It happened in Grenada when Maurice Bishop was already a Marxist. He was executed by a new Marxist who was more Marxist than this Marxist. Same happened in Afghanistan when first there was Taraki, he was killed by Amin, then Amin was killed by Babrak Karmal with the help of KGB. Same happened in Bangladesh when Mujibur Rahman, very pro-Soviet leftist, was assassinated by his own Marxist-Leninist military comrade.
So getting to the point where we don't have to worry about the government assassinating us or the government taking down people in these assassination plots they've done throughout history. Instead, just let the people do it for themselves. The people strung up their enemies. The people want the death to someone. How many people had death to DeSantis trending on Twitter for the longest time? How many people are calling for the death of these politicians that don't agree with what the media has been portraying? How many people? There was a hashtag trending that said F Joe Biden. That hashtag changed to fuck Trump. How did that happen so quickly? Censors? Sure. But when do we get to this point where there are more than 1,000 people out, more than 1,000 people? There are millions of people out there that'll say, I hope Trump dies. I hope this dies. I don't want anybody to die. But when you start calling for that, you have to start to wonder when it's more than words, when there's more than things, when people started saying, oh, this or this or this. Next thing you know, there's actions that are happening. That's how you get someone like Martin Luther King that gets shot. When you start calling and you start hating and you start saying these things and spreading around in your groups, next thing you know, there's someone that's going to be more than willing to taking the shot, thinking he's going to be a hero to a bunch of people.
We trying to get in the assassination of Martin Luther King.
I've talked about it a couple times.
Oh, all right. So you know about the change of hotel and the positioning of who was supposed to be standing there.
The fact that he was cheating on his wife and at the hotel, and that she wasn't allowed to ride into the ambulance because it was afraid it was going to tarnish his legacy. And also the fact that he was smoking a cigarette on the balcony when he was shot. Most people think he was shot in a rally or one of those protests.
Right. He was on a hotel balcony. Have you, I bet you haven't heard this, that he was propped up to be the allegedly he was propped up to be the, I don't know the word, the person who would to so you know there was multiple civil rights leaders, right?
Yeah.
Like but this one, he dressed in the white man's suit and he dealt with the white man's religion, and he was an acceptable example of what we would like for the future African Americans to emulate. If you've heard anything of Malcolm X and his teachings, it was more isolationist. Whiskey's hitting. He was more into leave us alone and let us have our own economy, and maybe we can trade. But Hotep Jesus and that community of Hoteps, it's all fun and it's a nice follow. He's been on Alex Jones and Rogan and stuff. He says that integration was infiltration, and like having a hand, the white man having a hand in influence and putting them in our schools, we can influence the black community and stuff. But if Malcolm X had his way, it would have been more of what's the Black Wall Street? There was a Black Wall Street, and what would happen is the white folks would actually have a battle. They had a battle, I think, over this town, and the white man didn't like that they were operating on their own and had their own economy. So if we can integrate them, we can influence the direction. Like, do you know what a zoot suit is?
What?
Zoot suit. Like,
I don't know what that is.
The fox from like Looney Tunes, he would have the big exaggerated suit. The weasels in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, it's an exaggerated, the shoulders are pointed, it's yellow or purple or orange, and a big hat. Well, what that was is just making fun of the white man and the white man's suit, and it's not the traditional garb of African Americans, or the white man would want you to dress as him or emulate him. Oh, they're articulate. And so they would say that integration was infiltration into the Black community.
Well, hasn't there always been a type of idea or government style ideas of getting someone into power and leading people into some type of place, and then just that person randomly disappears, kind of like a sword in a way?
Yeah, it would
I
be
don't
like,
think Martin Luther King or Malcolm X were any of those, but there's been multiple people that we've seen that have said something, and then eventually people turn on that thing, and that person just disappears. I feel like those are government agents in a way, or some type of government idea of creating. They created the Unabomber, for God's sakes. You telling me they can't create some person that everyone likes and enjoys and has all the characteristics of what we deem as a society as the things that we want to hear and say, and then it just goes away?
yeah, uh tying up loose ends. We made the ideal and the ideologue, and we don't want the idea to change, so we can just freeze it in time. Like, I think when Malcolm X started to change his ideas to being, yeah, we can operate together, is when he got assassinated.
Well, when he stopped, um, when he started to go against the government was when he got assassinated.
Okay.
Same thing with Malcolm X. Malcolm X was kind of a Martin Luther King, just more an aggressive way and more in a different style. More about like, which was a fear. I mean, this is why the government infiltrated the Black Panther Party and got them fighting amongst each other to tear down the Black Panther Party. I mean, Age of Provocateurs is nothing new. I mean, that's how we get the Black Lives Matter protests where the person was walking by with a hammer and a yellow umbrella hitting shop windows. I mean, they'll do anything to make it seem like a lethal type thing. I mean, they'll spin it any direction they possibly can. But the idea that the media is out there to expose the government, I don't think that's necessarily true. I think they're working hand in hand together, because there's many times where they're pushing the government's agenda 100%. But there's this weird safe guys that's going on right now, is that you're a good person if you do or get this certain thing, and you're not a good person if you choose not to get it. That's what I don't really like, is this type of side picking rather than looking at what the sites say and what the facts say. And then right now, what the facts say, which are obviously constantly changing, which is why we have trust the science, it's just very, very hard to know what's going on because everybody's in a scramble. And I don't know how that gets fixed. I'm not going to even try to attempt to fix it. I just look at a factor of how come we are so quick to act, but not quick to think.
Feeling. I think a lot of people react on feeling. I run around in circles in my head thinking about logic and consistencies. But when I see other people around me, they're just based in feeling and fear. And
Well, it's good that people feel about so strongly about racism and all that, but
I was thinking about something. I'm talking about something else. But
I'll say feeling good about QAnon, for instance. But that the weird part is how it became like a job for a lot of people, where they thought they were doing some amazing good by attacking people who necessarily weren't even pedophiles. They weren't even looking at basic facts or evidence. You know, people trusting the evidence or looking at things that are lining up a certain way. I just wish, even me, like for saying it came from a lab or something. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm not going to sit here and tell everybody they're fucking
you should
idiots if
be
they don't believe it.
canceled and fired, and your life should be ruined because you said these words in a line.
But in what land is it? That's where censorship becomes an issue. And that's when we go back to the basic algorithms. Whoever's planning these algorithms, things we're basing these algorithms in exact science that are perfect, and they're fucking flawed. They learn as they go, much like people, they learn as they go. They're not these perfect things that have advanced our evolution. If it ever gets to a point where they are past us, it's going to be a long way down the line. But everything, much like how we see or receive information, is just like them. They're just receiving information off the thing that's programming it into them.
So recently, yeah, I won't do that. Recently, Facebook, that's what it is. Facebook had to apologize for calling African American folks primates on accident because the algorithm, it was one of those, hey, if you like a video like this, you'll like this video of chimps or whatever. But it was like, I don't know what the previous video was, but because the algorithm was saying, would you like just watch more monkey videos? People were like, oh my God, Facebook algorithm is calling Black folks monkeys. And they had to come out and apologize for that. So these algorithms, I can't imagine who's like working on them. I imagine they're making themselves by this point. Whatever algorithm, hey, search for keyword, whatever.
I think they get modified, obviously, by one person. It's kind of like if you have a business that's all robotics, there's always one natural or human person that's monitoring or maintaining all those machines to make sure they're producing their job in case they do break down. I think that's what the algorithms, there needs to be slight adjustments and stuff like that. But if algorithm is just code, then what stops someone from hacking into it and just messing with the algorithm? I think at one point we're going to have anonymous step up and try and change these algorithms or these censorship things. So I think they should just naturally just only base their algorithms in certain key figures. I mean, the weird part is when they had that person that infiltrated the White House. That guy had a fucking plan with guns and everything, and they knew about that shit, but they didn't address the problem of it. Maybe they were using it as a way to implement more things, much like the 9/11 was a great way to slide in a bunch of things about harder jurisdictions or harder whatever spy of whatever the government to be able to look into all your private information to stop terrorists. See, it's easy to say like, it's all for stopping terrorists. Well, I don't want terrorists to happen. But when do we draw the line? Like, when is checking our browser history or something like that stopping terrorists? I don't think anybody's Googling anything like, yeah, sure, you can make a bomb. Sure. But is anybody Googling what the flight plans of all this type of shit are to be able to make a fucking bomb?
There's a book that if you Google it, you get put on a list. So I won't even say the name of the book. Yeah. So, okay. Obama.
We're going to hit that 3-hour mark. So don't phase out on me now.
No. I had to remember a thought. Obama made it legal to propagandize the American public when it was before illegal. I think he signed it before he left. And I think that's the era that we're in, the Mockingbird era of misinformation and CIA operatives running positions of power to influence swaths of people. Like, I don't want to say names.
Okay.
Everybody knows it's the white-haired guy with glasses.
Yeah, I'm curious to what the next step or what the next year is going to hold, or the year after that, or what's going to be like in 5 years. Are we going to be at this
score?
You think the credit score is going to be the main thing to decide what you're going to be in this society, much like it is now? But do you think it's going to have more of an effect onto all of our lives rather than just getting a home? Maybe it's the fact of what job or what standard of meat you're going to be able to consume.
I
Might as well get used to eating baby food now, man. That's all the food's gonna be.
Meat on your birthday. That's all you get. Cockroach bars. So that giant Indiana Jones ball, we can't stop. It's tough. Atlas, or no, who's the guy pushing the ball up the hill? He's gonna drop it.
I'm about to say Atlas is the one holding up the world.
Yeah.
Well, like for Scientology, for instance, I've noticed that Scientology models a lot of things off their government or off our government. They're all old government tactics that they use. Well, one thing Scientology does is that they give you a small home and they barely pay you because your job is to maintenance that place. And they just give you a small little fee for like groceries. The government's going to be able to do that at some point. I mean, how much of this infrastructure bill randomly, a lot of it said, oh, it's not going to be at any cost to whatever. It's not going to pull out any money. It's not going to cost any money. When does anything not cost any money? Everything costs something. Inflation has happened. Wage has gone up. We're in this cycle of like, we're seem like we're doing good or we're doing amazing things, but we're not. We're actually destroying some minor and major things that are eventually going to play in this long run. I was talking to this guy who studies the legend of Pan, Pan, the goat with the whistle.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about he was a minor character, but he actually plays an important role in a lot of these major stories. He's kind of like a crucial element. He kind of works in the backdrop of things and keeps all these things running. And he's kind of the essence, the spirit of nature. Now, nature, for instance, bees pollinate things. Bees spread pollination, which help with flowers and creates this growth of life in a way. Imagine if all bees just died. So we get to this point now where we start looking at like, how many things are running in the background that we've always just kind of got used to running and not even think about it anymore, much like you expect to get in your car and be able to drive it. And then one day it's dead on battery. This is kind of what's happening with a lot of things that are getting passed. We're focused on issues that are either going to be a couple steps ahead or one that's right in front of us. But we're missing crucial steps to be able to address the actual problem, where we're taking things out of the backdrop and wondering why now this isn't working. Well, yeah, because you took the whole car apart, you put it back together just to test because you were bored. And now the car's not running properly because you don't know how to do that. And you did it.
Back to Alex Jones. He was talking about this bug windshield effect or theory or whatever. If you drive through the country, you have less bugs on your windshield than you did like 20 years ago. And whatever we're doing to the environment, I don't think it's carbon because it's good for plants. I think it's whatever pesticides and land modifiers and runoff and stuff that's killing bugs. And it
Well, if you have less spiders, you have more insects and flies inside of your house. If you have less snakes, you have more mice inside of your house. If you have less fireflies like there is today, you have this unintended effect that you have more mental health, for instance. How many people are having a really bad day and they're outside sitting on their back porch smoking a cigarette or just trying to find anything to seem a sense of happiness in the world, and a fucking firefly goes by and like, wow, look how pretty that is. Look at the fact that we've dimmed the sky, or we've dimmed the stars at night to where we can't see them anymore, all because we wanted light in our fucking homes. That fucking price of just wanting light inside of our house has caused light pollution that has caused us to see less and less stars every single year.
my skeptical mind just went to that's on purpose. They don't want to see in the stars, so we don't know how to go anywhere. So you said Firefly, and I wanted to bring this up. You ever watch Firefly, the sci-fi series?
Mm-mm.
Hey, I'll give you some homework. I think you might like that.
Hold on a second. I've been talking most of this episode. You need the homework.
What? No,
No,
I'm trying to find my way in. Well, there's a series called Firefly. It's space cowboys, basically. They got a rickety cargo ship. They take bounties. Who's the guy from Castle?
Fuck, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Handsome guy. I forget his name. This whole thing is being handsome.
Fabio?
No, younger. But
Ryan Reynolds?
no. All the listeners just scream. Oh no.
Ryan Gosling?
No.
Did he play in anything else besides Castle?
Trying to think.
Is he a popular actor?
Yeah. He's handsome enough and funny enough to be
Brad
popular.
Pitt?
No.
Paul
young.
Rudd?
No.
Chris Evans?
Less famous than them. Well, they had a movie. Dang. I can't spoil
Neil
it. 'Cause
Patrick Harris?
I want you to watch it. No. Oh man, I almost had it. Ah. I'm about to look.
He was in Castle?
Yeah.
The fuck is Castle?
He's a actor who helps a detective because he's writing a book.
Will Ferrell?
No, less funny. Nathan Fillion.
I don't fucking know that guy.
Well, this is a very good series. It got cut off short, and well, all right, there's plenty to get into. It got cut short and it became a cult classic, and then it had a movie to wrap it up. And one of the things that they had was a human weapon, but she was a girl, and she would go off and just trigger and then murder. I'm the best fighter in all of town. So I think that's quite possible. She was in the movie, she was looking at a screen that just happened to so the government's looking for her, and they sent a bounty hunter for her, and just so happens they're on a planet, and there's a commercial, and she gets triggered by the commercial to start whooping everybody around. And I would hate to give away the end of the movie, but I would attribute it to giving me all my conspiracy mind. I was young, so I'm like, oh, the government and the so I would always be like, where are the current Martin Luther Kings and people who would stand up and be that figure? Right now, I think it might be Alex Jones-esque figure that will go down in history as
Well, it's much like
an
we never had a
influential figure.
president. We never had a president before that was like Trump. I think that's what was his main appeal for a lot of people, was he was against the classic president that everyone sees. And it's kind of why we've went with Biden now. But we don't have any figures like that. So Alex Jones would be that Trump in a way. Necessarily, hopefully he'd be more good than how Trump was, but a concept of like he's that crazy person that's exposing a lot of things. But the fact is that he's too crazy to be a person to believe in like that. And people won't give him an opportunity, even though he's gotten a lot of shit right. I do have some issues with a lot of things he said. And just recently he's now being what was it? He was found guilty in the Sandy Hook, all the damages and stuff he has to pay back now. So there are some issues with some things that he's messed up on, but I think it's just because you get so involved into that lane of all this government shit that everything starts seeming like a fucking scam. And that's kind of where he fell into. And I think if you actually hear him talk on like real, like heart to heart interviews and stuff, you see a different side than the comedic Alex Jones that just wants to get views and clicks by going crazy. He actually thinks deeply about a lot of things. And I think the fact that anybody can sit there and say that person's an idiot, like the people go, Obama's an idiot. Well, that's not true. He's actually gone to college. He's fucking gone for degrees and actually done some.
Elite.
Well, that's the thing, is that people, even no matter what their education or no matter whatever they studied for, people say Rand Paul is an idiot. I'm like, well, look at his fucking educational record. Look at everything he's done. People say Jon Stewart's a fucking idiot. Well, look at everything he's done. He fought for 9/11 victims to get them benefits when no one else would. There's people that have done amazing things, but just because they don't fit your political side or political views, you call them an idiot. And I see that's the problem that we need to fix.
So I got bumper stickers for Alex Jones, and I've actually it's been great. I haven't made a video on this, but I wanted to. So this is great. I get to talk about it. I people will honk at me, be like, yeah, Alex Jones, and I'll pass them a sticker because I got extras. And recently, within a month, I had 2 incidences out of nowhere. So like where people were like, Alex Jones, huh? Yeah, you're an idiot. You're all idiots. Can't believe you support Alex Jones. But these are all like, I'm in my car during these 2 interactions. And in the moment, I should take my phone out, but I don't have I'm not record everything centered. Like I would love to be like, I recorded this moment of my dogs. I recorded, everybody knows when to set something up before something's about to happen and you can record it. And I just wasn't like turned on to be like, Alex Jones is a national hero and y'all don't know what y'all talk. You've already lost the argument to me by interacting with me through my window at a streetlight. Like you're triggered so hard that that I should not interact with this person. Like you said, wouldn't you say that the KKK dude walking down the street is a piece of shit? I won't interact with
You don't have to
somebody.
say it. I mean, that's your first thought.
Yeah. But I'm not gonna interact with that guy that he's clearly unstable to yell at me through his turned all the way around to tell me I'm an idiot for what I'm thinking. He's like, this one dude surprised me. He was like, what about true conservatism? And I was like, whoa, that is from that side that you're mad at? I'm like, all right, well, I don't think Alex deals in labels. I don't deal in labels.
He was active. People call him a Republican, but he was actively speaking out against George Bush. I
Yeah.
think the Republicans are probably less apt to censor his views, which is why people label him as that. But I think he just fights for the idea of he doesn't want government control as much as it has. And I think that's like more of a libertarian standpoint. I say these conspiracy ideas, a lot of the shit he's got has been right, man. I mean, I don't know how else to say it than that. It sucks that if you say you like Alex Jones, people consider you, an asshole or some type of
Everybody
enemy.
around me rolls their eyes.
It's just a concept of like, I'm sorry that there's nobody talking about issues that are obviously things that we need to be doing investigations into. Any deep dives or any type of politicians, I consider it an issue. When somebody like Fauci lies in front of everybody, then he doesn't get any damages that go over to him. The fact that you lie to Congress in front of an open thing when you could easily just been honest about it. Now, is that a factor of society making us in fear to where we have to lie, or is that a factor of we don't have any damages or criminal acts, or I guess punishment to people that do so? The fact that everyone just glosses over it and doesn't talk about it is pretty fucking fascinating to me. I consider that if that was another person that was speaking out against that, you literally are holding the keys to what everyone is basically going to be running off of for a very long time. So when you make sure you're 100% truth in the fact and you get proven wrong, or you lie, then there should be some consequences to that, because now you're fucking with people's lives. And I necessarily don't want anybody fucking with my life.
It's all your labor is more valuable. Like, your productivity is more valuable than your privacy. And for us to make sure that you're productive, we got to keep watching. Like, trying to be safe. I guess China, right? They're 100% monitored and their productivity is super high. And you can only think of the collective and not the individual. And like, it's just hard to think that those people can't think of themselves as an individual. Like, they have to say I think something.
Less hive mind.
Yeah, they must know that they're operating in this way to appease the government. Like, the goal is to mess with your life and be involved, keep you touching your toes, you ain't deep enough type of control. In 1984,
Always going back to 1984.
I love it. It's part of my set over there. Every aspect was monitored of your life. You think you're walking, you rode a train 2 miles away and you walked 2 miles in the woods to meet up with this person, but no, man, there's microphones in the woods, there's people, they're gonna grab you because they want to be involved with you so much just for the fruits of your labor, and so they can have the crystal glasses and the extravagance. The elite people, they call it the telescreen or something. It was a TV with a camera that would watch everything, and you're like always trying to maneuver around it. And the elites could actually turn off the telescreen And it blew Winston's mind when he found out that you could actually turn off the screen. And later there happened to be just there's a TV behind the sheetrock that like gets them later. You think that you're not being watched, and they think you have privacy because you deserve privacy. But if if you're not doing anything, you shouldn't be afraid. Like, just being, I always talk about, I'm gonna get put in a van. I'm in this new world that China's bringing to America. I'm getting put in a van, bro. And it's, the ball is a big one that we can't stop.
I'm gonna wrap it here. Only because I don't even know if it's gonna let me edit it, so I might just have to go up raw. But we're at least the timer on here says 2:44, but it's probably at like 2:30 or something like that.
I was gonna say you got two halves.
I could do part two. Joe Rogan just did 2 parts on the Burt episode because of he probably doesn't have enough content to put up, so he was like, I need to save this one because you could do he's done 6-hour episodes before, and both those are only 2.5 hours. So
yeah.
But Brandon, I appreciate you for doing my show again. I always love chatting with you and having a great time. Where can people find you? Father of the Year. It's going to be the title of the episode. I'm going to say it again.
You can find me on the YouTube and Anchor at Skeptiphobia, Skeptiphobia. We just talk about, so I'm gonna start trying to do this predictive programming movie stuff. This computer is crap, and there's gonna be a whole new season with a new computer if I get it. And I am starting with V for Vendetta, and we're gonna go on predictive programming in movies. It's gonna be maybe a watch along. I might not be able to show you the movie, but I'll tell y'all when to sync it up. And we're going to try to do some predictive programming in movies. We're going to talk about Bucky's arm. We're going to talk about Wakanda armor, kinetic, bullet absorbing video games, telling you bullets are worthless. We're getting into it.
Smart bullets.
Bruh. Drones with explosives and lasers. And I wanted to, man, it's the end of the episode. But Skeptiphobia.
Is that it?
Yep, that's it. I remembered a thought from earlier, but it's over.
Don't say it.
Project Bluebeam, drones and light shows, clouds for projections. There was a Scooby-Doo where they had vampires. It was a movie, and there was a cave that projected vampires onto a giant vampire god thing onto the clouds. And Project
Earth, Wind, and Fire, baby. That's the band that was playing.
Oh, was it?
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
The
Earth, Wind, Fire, and Air. Remember?
That's what you're right.
Singing. Yeah,
that is exactly
Scooby-Doo and Vampire Rock.
Yeah, that is it. Project Bluebeam. It's going to be on the clouds and drone swarms.
So a giant face in the sky, like Fortress of Solitude of Superman. All shall bow and all shall know, only when I say.
Or Rick and Morty. Show us what you got.
Show us what you got. All right, Brandon.
Project Bluebeam, y'all.
All right, I'm gonna wrap it. Thanks for listening, everybody. Stay tuned for next episode.